So yeah, yeah. I started the streaming again. So yeah, offers minute. Financial reserves of funds. Into labs and universities. In academic circles, many are naive enough to believe in pure science. They believe that government and business altruistically give them money to pursue whatever research projects strike their fancy. Altruistically. Altruistically. Altruistically, which is in a way that shows selfless concern for well-being of others without regard of one's own interest. It's same as selfless. Selflessly, you can say it's selflessly. Selflessly, right? Give the money to pursue whatever, okay? But there's hardly describe the realities of science funding. Most scientific studies are funded because somebody believes they can help attain some political, economic, or religious goal. For example, in the 16th century, kings and bankers channeled enormous resources to finance geographical expeditions around the world, but not a penny of studying child psychology. This is because kings and bankers surmised that discovery of new geographical knowledge would enable them to conquer new lands and set up new trade empires. Surmise, surmised, or to enforce something which is true. Surmise means guess or infer. And whereas they couldn't see any profit in studying the child psychology. In 1940, the government of America and the Soviet Union sent enormous resources to study of nuclear physics rather than underwater archaeology. They surmised that studying nuclear physics would enable them to develop nuclear weapons, whereas underwater archaeology was unlikely to help win wars. Scientists themselves are Scientists themselves are not always aware of the political, economic, and religious interests that control the flow of money. Many scientists do, in fact, act out of the pure intellectual curiosity. However, only rare do scientists dictate the scientific agenda. Even if we wanted to finance pure science unaffected by political, economic, or religious interests, it would probably be impossible. Our resources are limited after all. Ask a congressman to allocate an additional $1 million to the National Science Foundation for basic research, and he'll justifiably ask whether that money wouldn't be better used to fund teacher training or give a needed tax break or to a double factory in his district. To channel limited resources, we must answer questions such as what is more important and what is good. And these are not scientific questions. Science can explain what exists in the world, how things work, and what might be in the future. Per definition, it has no pretensions to knowing what should be in the future. Only religions and ideologies seek to answer such questions. Consider the following quandary, which is what is quandary? Quandary. Quandary is a state of perplexity, uncertainty over what to do in a difficult situation. Okay, intellectual or emotional complexity, conflicted thinking. Consider the following quandary. Two biologists from the same department possessing the same professional skills have both applied for $1 million grant to finance their current research projects. Professor Silvan wanted to study a disease that infects the udders of cows, causing a 10% decrease in their milk production. Professor Sprout wanted to study whether cows suffer mentally when they are separated from their cows. Assuming that the amount of money is limited and it is impossible to find small research projects, which one should be funded? There is no scientific answer to this question. There are only political, economic, and religious answers. In today's world, it's obvious that Slughorn has a better chance of getting the money, not because adverse diseases are scientifically more interesting than bovine mentality, but because the dairy industry, which stand to benefit from the research, has more political and economic clout than the animal rights lobby. Clout. Clout is meaning. Clout is right. I think it's like pressure, right? Political clout. Influence, right? Pressure or influence. Influence. Political influence. Perhaps in a strict Hindu society where cows are sacred, or in a society committed to animal rights, Professor Sprout would have a better shot. But as long as she lives in a society that values the commercial potential of milk and the health of its human citizens over the feeling of chaos, she'd, she'd best write up her research proposals so as to appeal to those assumptions. For example, she might write that depression leads to the decrease in milk production. If we understand the mental world of dairy cows, we could develop psychiatric medications that will improve their mood, thus raising milk production by up to 10%. I estimate that there is a global annual market of 150 million for bovine psychiatric medications. Science is unable to set its own priorities. It is also incapable of determining what to do with discoveries. For example, from a purely scientific viewpoint, it is unclear what we should do with our increasing understanding of genetics. Should we use this knowledge to cure cancer, to create a race of genetically engineered supermen, or to engineer dairy cows with a supersized udders? It is obvious that a liberal government, a communist government, a Nazi government, and a capitalist business corporation would use the very same scientific discovery for completely different purposes, and there is no scientific reason to prefer one uses over other. In short, science research can flourish only in alliance with some religion or ideology. Okay, the ideology justifies the cost of the research. In exchange, the ideology influences the scientific literature and determines what to do with the discoveries. Hence, in order to comprehend how humankind has reached Alamogordo on the moon, rather than any number of alternative destinations, it is not enough to survey the achievement of physicists, biologists, and sociologists. We have to take account. We have to take into account the ideological, political, and economic forces that shape physics, biology, and sociology, pushing them in certain direction but neglecting others. Two forces in particular deserve our attention: imperialism and capitalism. Imperialism, a feedback loop between science, empire, and capital, has arguably been history's chief engine for past 100 years. The following chapter analyzes its working. First, we look at how the twin turbine of science and empire were latched to one another, then learn how both were hitched up to the money pump of capitalism. Hitched up. Hitched up. Okay, let's go. Hitched up to Foster. Okay. Okay. So yeah, we had completed the chapter named "The Discovery of Ignorance," which is the part of the scientific revolution chapter in the this book Sapiens. So yeah, the next chapter will be the marriage of science and empire, the capitalist creeds, and we'll read this chapter tomorrow, or I think I should start. Okay, I don't think I will complete this question one day, right? Okay, let's yeah. So now what we'll do is we will compile the list. Give me then give me the list of words I learned today. I learned Today I give you here words or meanings. Okay, so what are the words I learned today? Hubris, excessive pride or ignorance that often leads to downfall. Arrogance, conceit, inevitably, certainly, unavoidably. Crucifixion, execution, torment. Just like in Christian community, crucifixion is very means it's a very normal word for the amenable, just agreeable, plethora, excessive abundance, Gilgamesh, ostensibly, seemingly or apparently, supposedly, outwardly, apparently. Creeds is, yeah, the philosophies are beliefs and faiths, quest, a long search and pursuit, a mission, journey, rampages, violent and uncontrollable outbursts of behavior, like how cancer rampages is. Proliferate, multiply and spread quickly. Vanquish means defeat. Gangrene, which is infection of the body or infection of the body due to the lack of blood. Agony is intense physical pain. Advent, arrival of something. Spade, sternum or yeah, illness, minor illness, fortitude, courage and mental strength in adversity. Coffers means funds, like uh, business coffers means business funds. Altruistically, selflessly means we donate money selflessly or altruistically. Surmise means the guest. Quandary, state of uncertainty or dilemma, or means to distinct thinking processes. Clout, influence of power means clout. How how economic clout, how economic and the political decisions clout the scientific discoveries or clout the invention of new technologies through scientific discoveries. Hitch, attach, fasten. So yeah, so yeah, we had completed today's chapter and today's book reading session, and this is the list of the words we learned today. Yeah. So I will come tomorrow and regularly, consistently, and we will read books. So thank you so much.